Hello, my dear friends. I'm thinking that I should stop attending levias, funerals, although it's somewhat in jest, because I come home from a funeral feeling a sense of depression. Not so much because it reminds me being at the funeral of my own mortality, but because I feel a sense of inadequacy. I listen to the hespedim, to the eulogies, and there's so many wonderful things that are always said about the niftar or the nifteris, the person who departed, and I wonder, why is it that I can't emulate or copy the things that they have done? And this week I felt that way in spades. I attended the funeral. Very tragically, a dear friend of mine passed away. Rabbi Luban passed away this past weekend. Zecher Tzadik Uvracha. He was a close friend. We attended yeshiva together in Philadelphia over 60 years ago, and then in Lakewood. And I've been in touch with him over the years. He was a Rebbe in yeshiva of Far Rockaway for many years. He had hundreds or thousands of Talmidim, and he was a Rav in Lawrence, in New York, for many, many years. He gave tons of shiurim, and the hespedim that they delivered this past Sunday were just so unbelievable. All the things that he accomplished in his lifetime, and he did, and the impact that he had on people. It just was so inspiring, but at the same time, I felt such a tremendous sense of inadequacy. There was one part that particularly, like a dagger in my heart, and that was when I was young, I had hoped that I would be able to master Shas, that I would have all of Shas on my fingertips. And when I became the rabbi of the shul, and then I also became a full-time administrator in the OU, I more or less abandoned that project because I just didn't have time. Rabbi Kalish was just as busy as I was. He was a rabbi in yeshiva. He was the rabbi of a shul. He gave many shiurim, and he was a posek as well. But he managed to learn. He managed to make a siyum on Shas 40 times in the last 40 years. Every year he would finish Shas. That he would do that by learning 7 blot a day. Our own Max Wasaski did Chapadaf. He did 3 blot a day. He was able to finish Shas in 2.5 years. Rabbi Kalish, for 40 consistent years, he finished Shas every single year, and he was able to make a siyum on Shas. And then it's just such an incredible accomplishment. And given his schedule, and given how much he was doing, to be able to do that is just, to me, is mind-boggling. I remember I saw him at a wedding a few months ago, and he had his Gemara with him because during the chuppah he was busy. He couldn't waste a moment because he had to finish his 7 blot every day, and that is such an incredible accomplishment, and it left me with such a tremendous sense of inadequacy. The truth is, the Mishnah Berurah recommends that at the end of every day, a person should make a cheshbon hanefesh, that he should make a calculation, make an accounting of his soul, to think about what is it that I accomplished today, how much did I achieve, and by doing so, it allows a person to focus on, am I using my time in a meaningful way? Every moment of time is precious. Rabbi Kalish accomplished as much as he did because he recognized the value of time, and he didn't squander it. The Rambam says that in Hilchos Talmud Torah, Rambam says that a person who wants to acquire Torah should not waste a single day. And he says, even one day, and the Rambam says actually you acquire more Torah knowledge at night than in the day. And don't waste even one night of your life. So what's the big deal? So you'll miss one time. Why? You shouldn't waste even one time. Why? Because when something is precious, when you're dealing with diamonds, so you miss the diamonds one day, that could be millions of dollars. And that was Rabbi Kalish's attitude. He didn't miss one day. He stayed on track. 40 years he was able to finish Shas each year by learning 7 blot a day. And that's the way he utilizes time, and that's it's something that at least I don't know if I can't copy that, but I can at least do a cheshbon hanefesh, that every day to think about, what did I do today with my time? What did I accomplish? What did I achieve? How can I make better use of my time in tomorrow and in the coming weeks ahead? When I was in Pittsburgh 45 years ago, I was studying in the Kollel. I delivered a drasha once every few weeks at a local shul, and I said a thought that I repeated it a few times in Or Torah as well. I think it's a meaningful thought that I want to share with you, and that is the following: the opening pasuk of Chayai Sara seems to have a redundancy. Vayu Chayai Sara. The life of Sarah was Me'eh Shanim, Esrim Shanim, Sheva Shanim. She lived 127 years. Shnei Chayai Sara. Then the pasuk repeats, these are the years of the life of Sarah. What does that add? These are the years of the life. Shnei Chayai Sara. These are the years of the life of Sarah. So Rashi says it teaches us Kulam Shavim L'Tova, that every single day of her life was meaningful. The Torah is emphasizing all those 127 years. Every single year was important. Every single year was important, and she accomplished great things. Every single day she accomplished something of importance. But I suggested the following idea. I once read a story about it was a cemetery where somebody went to visit the cemetery, and he noticed that the tombstones, everybody seemed to have died at a young age. One person was 4 years and 10 days. Another person was 6 years and 47 days. And nobody in that cemetery seemed to have lived beyond childhood. And the person was amazed, and he went to the administrator. He said, what's going on here? Did everybody in this city die at such a young age? So the person says, no, many of the people, they live to be 80, they live to be 90. So he says, so why does it say that they were so young? He says, because we have a different way of recording age in this cemetery. We don't record the age, the chronological age. We record the age according to when they use the time in a meaningful way, when they use the time to perform mitzvahs or Torah study, and therefore that age, the spiritual age. Gemara says that people who are rishayim, who are evil, even when they're alive, it's like they're dead. So when is a person alive? It's when a person is fulfilling mitzvahs. So in this cemetery we take all the time that they spend doing mitzvahs, and we add it up, and that's what we recorded. So this one they spent 4 years doing mitzvahs when you add everything up. There was somebody in the cemetery who was only 3 weeks old, because that was their whole life. That's how many mitzvahs they did mitzvahs for 24 hours, 3 weeks worth of time. That's how. So what I suggested was that the Torah is saying. First, the Torah says that chronologically, Sarah lived 127 years. She lived 127 years. That means from the time she was born until the time that she died. That's how many years it was. But then the Torah says, Shnei Chayai Sara. In terms of her age, spiritually, she was exactly the same age spiritually as she was chronologically. She was 127 years because she didn't wait, like Rashi says, Kulam Shavim L'Tova. She didn't waste a moment. And like the Rambam says, you shouldn't waste one moment, one evening. She didn't waste a moment. And therefore, her spiritual age matched her physical age. And the same thing could have, if I had spoken at the Levaya of Rabbi Kelish, that's what I would have said. That his Shnei Chayai Sara, his age, there was no dichotomy between how old he was from the time he was born to the time he passed away at age 78. But spiritually, he was also 78 years old. He accomplished more than it's even possible to imagine in 78 years. So there was no dichotomy in his age between the chronological age and the spiritual age, and that inspired me. I mean, it depressed me, but it also inspired me that a person has to make use of their time. The Mishnah Berurah, Chavetz Chaim quotes a Zohar that every night a person should make a cheshbon hanefesh. A person should think about what did I accomplish today? What did I do? Which things could I have done better? And the value of that is that it helps the person focus, because we take time for granted and we squander time and we waste time, and the days just go, it passes, and we accomplish nothing. A person has to think about, what did I accomplish during this day of my life? This past week, my daughter Shira Dvara loves to do puzzles. She does 1,000-piece puzzles. she's a whiz at it. She takes her a few days and she does the whole 1,000-piece puzzle by herself. So one of her puzzles was on the table, and I moved it, and accidentally I broke the puzzle, and the parts of the puzzle separated. The pieces fell apart. I felt bad that I ruined her puzzle. So at around 1:00 at night, before I went to sleep, I figured maybe try to put some of the pieces back together. And I became so deeply engrossed in doing that I was up until 5:00 in the morning, and I haven't done a puzzle since I was 10 years old. But afterwards, one of the members of my family said to me, puzzles are addictive, and that I understand why. Because there's a sense of accomplishment that you feel. You're like you're doing something of value. Every time you put in a piece and it fits, beautiful. I figured out where this piece goes, and it keeps it's so the addiction is so strong that it's hard to stop. And I realized afterwards that the Ribono Shel Olam created that midah, that character trait of a person, that people have this need to feel that they've accomplished something of value. If a person could feel a sense of accomplishment for a puzzle, leisure is important, and you could have a family doing a puzzle together. Those are all very nice. But the real value of this quality, that a person is motivated by feeling that they're proud to have accomplished something, is when it's a mitzvah, when it's Torah study, or a mitzvah, you do a chesed and you help somebody, or you work on your midas. That's where that midah is so important. The midah, the quality of pride in one's accomplishments, and God gave us that quality so that we should be motivated to accomplish important things in our lifetime. I recently heard a video of a talk given by Yisrael Meir Lau, who was the former chief rabbi of Eretz Yisrael, a tremendous person. And he said he had a conversation with Rav Shlomo Wolbe. Rav Shlomo Wolbe was one of the giants of the past generation, especially in the area of ethics, of Musar. And he asked Rav Wolbe to tell him tell him a story that's inspirational. So Rav Wolbe told him that when he was a young man, Rav Wolbe grew up in Germany. He went to study in the Mir Yeshiva. And when he came to the Mir Yeshiva, the first time he came, so he walked in and he met a young man. And the person, after saying hello and everything, the person told him, "I'm 4 years old." So he says, "What do you mean? You don't look like you're 4 years old." So he says, "I came to the Mir Yeshiva 4 years ago. And when I came, I met the head of the yeshiva, the mashgiach in the yeshiva, who was Rav Yerucham Levovitz, Zecher Tzadik V'Bracha. Rav Yerucham was a person who had an unbelievable impact on thousands of Talmidim. And his impact, he passed away I think in during the 1940, I think. So that's 85 years ago. His impact is still felt until this day. And anybody that studies Musar in Yeshiva, studies the writings of Rabbi Yerucham Levovitz, it's so powerful, the things that he says. He says, "I was transformed." This man who said he was 4 years old, he said 4 years old. He said, "I was transformed by Rabbi Yerucham. That's when I started living. When I came to the Mir, and it was as if I was reborn then." And that's why I calculate my age based on that experience. The point being, again, that real living is when a person uses the time in a way that's productive. People who are rich don't squander their money. They don't throw it away, because they know the way you become rich is if you work hard and you make more money. So eventually it adds up and you become a millionaire and then a billionaire, and etc. People who are Talmidei Chachamim, they become super rich people because they don't squander a moment. People who are great tzaddikim, they don't waste a moment of the day. And I think that the closing phrase of the pasuk, Shnei Chayai Sara, that Rashi says that Sarah, Kulam Shavim L'Torah, Rashi says all the days were for good. That should inspire us, that we have to make sure that all our days are good. Just one last thought, I would say that when the Torah says that Shnei Chayai Sara, and then Rashi says that all her days were good, Kulam Shalom V'Tova, it means that Sarah lived. There were different periods of her lives, the different kufos. She was before she was married, and after she was married, and before she had children, and after she had Yitzchak, and before there was the famine, and after the famine, and when she was taken to the house of Paro, and then when she was taken hostage in the house of Abimelech. She went through different stages in her life, and each stage is a time when what HaKadosh Baruch Hu expects a person to do is to rise to the occasion of what's happening at that period of time. Sarah rose to the occasion every single stage of her life, and people oftentimes fail to realize that maybe they accomplish things early on, so that they feel, okay, I don't have to do more now. I already did my share. I already made my contribution to the community. It's not true. There's always something new to be done, especially people who retire. This is a common problem. People who retire, they feel like they have nothing to do with their time. They're climbing the walls. That's a tremendous loss of time, squander. It's so precious. And if a person is retired and he has the chance to use the time in a meaningful way, whether it's to study Torah or to do chesed or to learn new things, there's so many opportunities. And each stage of our life, we have to use the time in a meaningful way. Sarah was able to do that. That's why the Torah says, Shnei Chayai Sara, Kulam Shavim U'Tov. Whatever stage of life she was at, it was equally good. So let's try to stay focused on the value of time. Let's make a cheshbon nefesh at the end of every day. Think about what is it that we accomplished today? What is it that we did? Did we do anything that is important? And if we didn't, so let's do better tomorrow and the day after. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful Shabbos.